Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a major new development in the ongoing conflict between Ukraine and Russia. Another powerful strike by Ukraine, this time reportedly using underwater explosives to damage the Crimean Bridge. This operation has captured global attention because of its boldness, its symbolism, and the technological sophistication it represents. Let's unpack what's known, what this means for the war, and how it could shape the next phase of the conflict. The Crimean Bridge, also known as the Kerch Strait Bridge, is a crucial piece of infrastructure connecting the Russian mainland with the Crimean Peninsula. Since Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014, this bridge has been a physical and symbolic link between Russia and the occupied region. It serves as a key supply route, carrying fuel, ammunition, vehicles, and troops into Crimea and onward to the southern front lines of the war. For Ukraine, it has always been seen as a legitimate military target, a symbol of occupation, and a critical vulnerability in Russia's logistics chain. In this latest operation, Ukraine reportedly carried out a carefully planned underwater attack. Explosives were placed beneath the water, attached to the structural supports of the bridge. Early in the morning, the charges detonated, sending a massive shock wave through the base of the structure. Ukrainian sources claimed that the explosion was powerful enough to damage several support pillars, temporarily halting traffic and forcing emergency inspections of the bridge. No civilian casualties were reported, which suggests the attack was targeted for maximum infrastructure damage and minimal loss of life. Russia, for its part, quickly moved to contain the situation, saying that the bridge remained structurally sound and that traffic was being restored. However, reports indicate that sections of the bridge were closed for several hours, suggesting at least some operational disruption. This was not the first time the bridge had been targeted. Ukraine has launched multiple attacks on it over the past few years. Each time the goal has been clear: to cut off a vital supply artery that feeds Russian operations in southern Ukraine and Crimea. The underwater nature of this strike is especially noteworthy. It signals a new level of capability in Ukraine's warfare strategy. Rather than relying solely on drones, missiles, or surface attacks, this operation suggests specialized diving units, engineering expertise, and months of covert planning. Underwater attacks are far more complex to execute. They require precise placement of explosives, knowledge of underwater currents, and timing to avoid detection. That level of precision highlights how Ukraine's military has evolved, adapting its tactics to challenge Russia's dominance on every front, including beneath the sea. Strategically, the implications are huge. The Crimean Bridge is more than just concrete and steel. It's a psychological symbol of control. Damaging it undermines Russia's image of invincibility and exposes the vulnerability of even its most protected assets. For Ukraine, each successful strike not only disrupts logistics, but also delivers a message that no matter how fortified, Russia's hold on Crimea is not permanent or unassailable. From a military standpoint, hitting the bridge creates several practical advantages. It slows down the movement of fuel, heavy armor, and troops from Russia into occupied territories. It forces Russia to reroute supplies through longer, more exposed paths, which are themselves at risk of attack. It also strains Russia's repair crews and budgets. Each fix requires significant resources and engineering effort. Even temporary disruptions can have ripple effects across the front lines, especially when logistics are already stretched thin. But there's also the question of how much damage was truly done. Without independent verification, it's difficult to confirm the full extent of the destruction below the waterline. Russia has every reason to downplay the incident, while Ukraine has every reason to highlight it as a success. Underwater supports can be extremely tough to assess visually, and any structural weakness could take weeks or months to manifest. If the blast compromised the foundation, it could lead to long-term instability, even if the bridge appears intact now. This strike also comes at a moment when both sides are escalating their operations. Ukraine has been increasingly using sea drones and long-range weapons to hit deep inside Russian-held territory. Meanwhile, Russia has intensified missile and drone strikes on Ukrainian cities and infrastructure. This back and forth has created a dynamic where psychological warfare is just as important as physical damage. Each side wants to prove momentum and strength, And in this case, Ukraine has once again demonstrated it can reach deep into one of Russia's most prized symbols. The reaction from the international community has been mixed. Many see it as a legitimate military action aimed at a critical supply route that supports ongoing aggression. Others worry that strikes on high-profile targets could lead to further escalation. Still, what's clear is that Ukraine is not backing down, and it continues to innovate in how it conducts operations. The use of underwater explosives signals a new chapter in asymmetric warfare, one where smaller forces use precision, stealth, and creativity to strike at larger adversaries. Looking at the bigger picture, this operation fits into Ukraine's broader strategy of targeting logistics and morale rather than trying to engage in massive direct assaults. By striking supply routes, fuel depots, and command centers, Ukraine weakens Russia's ability to sustain long-term operations. The Crimean Bridge is the ultimate example of this. A single point of failure that connects an entire occupied region to its lifeline in Russia. Every attack, even if only partially successful, chips away at that connection. There's also a symbolic side that can't be ignored. The bridge represents the annexation of Crimea itself, a visible reminder of what Russia took in 2014. Every explosion, every image of smoke or closed lanes, reminds both Russians and Ukrainians that the peninsula's status is still contested. It boosts morale inside Ukraine, showing that their fight is far from over, and it sows doubt among Russian citizens who were once told the war would never touch them. However, Ukraine's daring tactics come with risks. Russia may respond with heavier retaliation, targeting civilian infrastructure or launching new offensives. The Kremlin cannot ignore a strike on one of its most high-profile symbols without losing face domestically. In past instances, such attacks were followed by waves of missile strikes on Ukrainian cities. It's a dangerous cycle of action and retribution, and both sides know the stakes are rising. For Ukraine, the key is sustainability. Each of these complex operations requires intelligence, technology, and coordination, resources that are difficult to maintain during prolonged conflict. The question now is whether Ukraine can continue to conduct such specialized missions while defending on multiple fronts. If it can, it will keep Russia off balance, forcing them to defend across land, air, and sea simultaneously. For Russia, the challenge is one of perception and control. Every strike on the bridge challenges the narrative of strength and stability that the Kremlin has tried to project. Even if the bridge remains operational, the idea that it can be attacked again and again chips away at the illusion of safety in Crimea. It also raises practical concerns: increased costs for security, repairs, and surveillance. Russia will likely invest even more in underwater defense systems, diverse and detection technologies to prevent future strikes, stretching their resources further. In the end, this attack is about more than a bridge. It's about the psychological and strategic dimensions of modern warfare. Ukraine has shown that even without the biggest navy or the most advanced air force, innovation can level the playing field. A few well-placed explosives beneath the surface can shake an entire empire's confidence. And for the Ukrainian people, it's another sign that resistance, even under immense pressure, continues to find new ways to fight back. As the situation unfolds, we'll be watching how Russia responds, how the damage assessment develops, and whether further strikes follow. The war shows no signs of slowing down, but what is becoming clear is that every operation, from drone raids to underwater attacks, is redefining the future of warfare. This was not just a strike on infrastructure. It was a message, one that echoes across the Black Sea and beyond. Thanks for watching and staying with me through this deep dive. If you found this explanation helpful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more breakdowns of global events. Let me know in the comments what you think this strike means for the course of the war. Is it a turning point, or just another step in a long fight? I'll see you in the next one.